Bella's point of view.
I shifted my weight, winced at the dull ache radiating up my spine. "Ronan," I whispered, unsure if I was calling out to comfort him or just needed to say his name to prove this moment was real. His head snapped up. Whatever softness had clouded his features was gone, replaced by a stone mask that chilled me deeper than any winter wind. His jaw tightened, his shoulders squared. It was like he'd shoved the emotion back into a vault and thrown the key into a fire. But I'd seen it. I knew what I saw, and now I wanted to know why. Why did touching someone hurt him? Why did closeness make him snap? Why did I get under his skin when no one else could? And more dangerously, why did I still want to stay? Ronan walked back in. But he wasn't the man from moments ago, the one who'd just pushed me into the floor like my presence was venomous. No, this man was clad in a metal-plated combat suit that clung to his broad frame like it had been made for him and him alone. Steel and leather layered across his chest, forearms and shoulders. He looked like war personified. He didn't spare me a glance. Not one damn look. He walked right past me as if I were the dust on his floor, like my existence didn't even qualify as background noise. I clenched my jaw and pushed myself off the floor, ignoring the flare of pain in my ribs. Thank the goddess for my wolf, already knitting my cuts and bruises back together, sparing me from showing the full evidence of what had just happened. I wasn't going to sit there like some discarded doll. I followed him. The air changed the moment I stepped into the hallway. People were gathered, pack members. All their gazes turned, some wide with surprise, others narrowed with something uglier. Suspicion, judgment, disgust. I lifted my chin, refusing to let them see the tremble in my bones. I caught the red-haired woman among them, the same one from last night, the one who told me she knew me. Her eyes burned into mine, and her teeth clenched so tight I thought her jaw might crack. Whatever they thought, I didn't care. I walked through them like I belonged there, even if I didn't. I climbed the stairs 2 steps at a time and burst into the guest room. My bag was still there, half-zipped on the bed. But Zara was gone. My heart plummeted. "Zara!" I called, rushing out again, only to be cut off by a wall of red hair and fury. "Not so fast, rogue." I stopped dead in my tracks. "I know I'm a rogue," I said, brushing a braid from my face. "You don't have to keep throwing it in my face." Her nostrils flared. "What were you doing in the Alpha's chambers?" she demanded. "Who let you in? What did you do there?" I raised a hand right in her face, palm firm, cutting her words like a knife. "Are you interrogating me now?" "You damn right I am. Just answer the damn questions, bitch." I blinked. My lips parted slightly, caught off guard by her venom. Then I gave her a cold smile. "Watch your mouth," I said, voice low and edged. "You're not the only one who knows how to call names. I could give you a few that'd sting worse than bitch." Her lips curled, but I didn't stop. "To answer your precious questions, I had something important to speak about. With your Alpha. Now, if you'll excuse me." Her hand clamped around my arm before I could finish. She spun me around with a growl so primal, my wolf stirred. "I'm not done." For a second, she looked like she might lunge at me, like she was 1 second away from shifting and tearing out my throat. Her eyes were unblinking, trembling with rage, and I was seconds from letting my wolf rip free. But then something in her snapped back into place. She blinked, like she finally saw the scene she was making. Her grip loosened. She took a breath. "I'm sorry," she said stiffly. "You can leave." Just like that, she turned and walked away. I watched her go with narrowed eyes and a bitter laugh under my breath. "What the hell's with this chic?" I descended the stairs 2 at a time, the walls pressing in like they knew what had happened and were holding their breath. I needed to get out of this house. I didn't care where we ended up, on a cave floor, under the stars, anywhere but this mad mansion with its haunted Alpha and his silent rules. Better to be a homeless wolf than live in a house full of perfectly broken people and their wired-up alpha. The moment I hit the main hallway, I spotted them. My people, my sanity. Zara, Kian and Huxley were already waiting by the doorway, like they had sensed the storm in me before I even arrived. Kian was the first to move. Her boots slapped hard against the wooden floor as she power-walked over. "Girl, what the hell happened? I heard you went into their alpha's forbidden quarters." "Forbidden?" I repeated, eyes flicking to Kian. He crossed his arms and nodded. "Yeah, Mason told me no one ever goes that way. Only their beta has permission to even look in that direction." Zara's tone sharpened. "So what was your reason to move your ass where it's forbidden? And that alpha... What? Didn't he kill you? Oh wait, you're still breathing. Or didn't you see him?" I rolled my shoulders, jaw tightening. I saw him. All three of them stared at me, blinking like I'd grown fangs. And I had my reasons for going in there. The silence that followed was heavy. Their eyes pinned me, demanding answers. I sighed, long and loud. "Look, I know him. They're Alpha. He's Ronan." That shut them up. Huxley's brows furrowed, suspicions slicing across his face. "Ronan? I only know one Alpha by that name. Ronan, the beast in the woods." I met his gaze squarely. "Same one. But he's not a beast. Not like the rumors say. The things people whisper about him. They're not true." Kian let out a sharp laugh. "Girl, you gotta be joking with us." Before I could answer, my name was called. "Bella!" I turned to see Dylan walking toward us, expression unreadable, but voice softer than I expected. "Sorry about earlier. Are you all right?" he asked as he came to a stop beside me. I nodded, running a mental check on my limbs. "I'm fine. Bones intact." Dylan gave a slight smile. "Good. Well, you all need to stay. For a while." Kian groaned. "Are you for real?" "Yes," Dylan said. "The Alpha requested it himself." Kian's mouth split into a wild grin. "Wow, that's great. Thanks, Beta. I'll go continue my fight now." And just like that, he was off, laughing like this place didn't hold the strangest wolf they'd ever met. Zara leaned closer. "I'm going to catch up on my sleep, but the moment I open my eyes, you're telling us everything." I gave her a slow nod, watching her strut back inside like she hadn't just threatened my peace. Huxley didn't say a word, just gave me that suspicious, dissecting look, like he could read what I wasn't saying, and turned away without a sound. When they were gone, I turned back to Dylan. "I'm sorry about what happened earlier. I hope I didn't get you in trouble." He shook his head. "You didn't." Then he leaned in slightly, lowering his voice like he didn't want the walls to hear. "But tell me the truth. What happened in there? Alpha told me. He hurt you." My eyes widened. Dylan's voice dropped even lower. "Did he touch you? Did he—" I stepped back just slightly, breath catching. "He didn't touch me like that. It was confusing. He just pushed me." "Like, did he use his hands to push you?" Dylan asked, like he couldn't believe what I just told him. "Do you use magic to push someone out of your way?" I asked. "Yes, he used his hand." Dylan stared at me for a moment, then let out a slow breath, his lips twitching into the faintest smile. "Okay." I didn't know what that okay meant, but he didn't press. Then he added, "He wants you to stay and be looked after, until you get better, before you leave." "I'm fine," I said, arms folding. "You're talking like I'm human or something." "You're not human," Dylan replied, voice firm. "But you're a woman, and women here are precious." I stared at him, unsure whether to be offended, flattered, or suspicious. He wasn't looking at me like Ronan did. No fire, no pull, but there was something else in his tone, something heavy. And suddenly, I didn't know which was more dangerous. "Dylan," I called softly as he turned to leave. He paused, glancing back over his shoulder. "Why was he—" I hesitated. "I mean, why did the Alpha have that armor on earlier? like he was heading to a battlefield. Dylan's jaw flexed, his eyes narrowing slightly. For a moment I thought he might actually answer, but then he exhaled, slow and firm. "You'll know in time, but for now, no more questions, Bella." I nodded, understanding the weight behind his words. Not fear, not yet. Just the knowing that I'd stepped into a world that revealed itself in pieces, not all at once. He turned again. "One more thing," I said quickly, my voice catching on the edge of a need I hadn't yet explained. "Is it okay if I go for a run?" His brows lifted slightly, surprised. His eyes flicked to the tree line beyond the pack house, then back to me, scanning something in my face. "Of course," he said at last, "but the Alpha went out for a run too. Just don't cross paths with him." I offered a small smile. "Got it." I turned before I could overthink it and headed toward the woods, the damp scent of earth and pine drawing me in. With every step, the tension in my body unraveled, piece by piece. The moment I was sure no one could see me, I slipped behind the thickest tree, pulled off my clothes, folded them gently, and hid them beneath the brush. My skin buzzed with anticipation, the morning sun kissing my bare flesh like a lover calling me home. Then I shifted. And then I was free. I lunged forward and the world tilted into sound and scent and speed. The wind screamed past my ears, the ground pounded beneath my paws like a heartbeat in overdrive. I was the blur between shadows, the whisper of wildness. Trees blurred as I raced through them, each stride a silent rebellion against the weight I'd been carrying. The thrill of the run, the rush of control and surrender. It was everything. It was me. I wasn't running from anything. I was running because I could. Because the beast in me had waited long enough to breathe. But then, my body skidded to a halt. There, under a weeping oak, lay Ronan's armor, and beside it, his pants and shirt. I stopped breathing for a moment. He was here, somewhere close, possibly naked and in wolf form. Damn it. I turned on my heel, taking the opposite path. The last thing I wanted was to run into him now. I had my own mess to untangle, my own wounds to mend. His could wait. When I reached the stream, I padded to the edge, crouching down and letting the cold water soothe my throat. I scooped it in handfuls, sipping slowly, greedily, until the sting of thirst dulled. I turned to leave. But the moment I did, my foot caught on a root slick with moss. I gasped, arms flailing to find balance, but it was too late. I tumbled forward, straight into the stream. The shock of the cold stole my breath. I screamed as my body sank. The current was stronger than I imagined, pulling me, dragging me. I kicked, fought, but the water was deeper here, and two didn't know how to swim. Panic clawed at my throat. I thrashed, trying to grab hold of anything, rocks, roots, air, but all I found was water. My head dunked under and the darkness rushed in. I shifted, desperate to find strength in my human form. Maybe arms could fight where paws couldn't. I gasped when I broke the surface again, coughing, blinking water out of my eyes, and saw him. A brown wolf standing on the bank, still, watching. Ronan. Our eyes locked and something inside me shattered. "Help me!" I screamed, voice choking over the roar of water and fear. "Ronan!" But he didn't move. He just stared, unflinching, cold, watching as the current pulled me further and further away, until he was nothing but a blur against the trees.
Ronan's point of view.
I saw her the moment she entered the woods. Her scent, carried in, long before she did. Wild roses crushed under bare feet, laced with something sharper, untamed. There was no mistaking it. It pierced through the trees like a call I couldn't ignore. Damn girl didn't even try to hide. Or maybe she thought she was being slick, stripping behind those brambles like the trees would keep her secrets. But the forest belongs to me. I was already shifted, armor discarded, my coat brushing against the cold earth, as my wolf took the lead. I didn't plan on staying. Hell, I'd told Dylan I needed air, not temptation. But temptation came anyway, in the form of long braids and black lipstick, in the form of the one she-wolf who made my pulse a curse. I watched her run, the way her paws beat the ground, light, fierce, like she was trying to outrun something. Maybe me, maybe herself. I didn't follow. I just lingered, shadowed the edge of her trail. I could have turned away, could have gone the other way. But then I heard the splash. A gasp. A sharp cry. My body went rigid. Instinct flared hot through my veins. But I didn't move. Not yet. I crept through the underbrush, paused silent over broken leaves, and found her, flailing. She'd tripped, tumbled, and was now fighting the current like it was trying to claim her soul. Panic painted every move. Her limbs fought wildly, her breath fractured into screams. She shifted midstream, human again, clawing at nothing, as the river dragged her under, her eyes locked with mine. She saw me. "Ronan!" Her voice tore through the chaos like a damn blade. Desperate, trusting. She was calling for me to save her. But I didn't move. Not because I didn't want to, but because I couldn't. My wolf stood there, eyes blazing, chest heaving, because something in me, something broken, feral, ancient, watched her not like prey, but like prophecy. And I didn't know which fate scared me more, letting her drown or pulling her out. So I just stood there, watching, and the current took her. I moved. Snarling, I launched into the trees, paws pounding, mud splashing underfoot, my chest heaving with every breath that barely kept me sane. The river curved fast, violent, dragging her further, faster. I kept up. My wolf raged, snapping at the wind, eyes burning for any glimpse of her. Then I saw her. Her body hit a bend in the current, limp, turning like driftwood. Head submerged, arms floating wide, hair a dark halo across the water. And for a second, for a heartbeat, I froze again. Then instinct took over, and I leapt, straight into the freezing current. My body cut through the water like a blade, and I surfaced in front of her, planting myself firmly in her path. The river pushed against me hard, but I pushed back harder. My wolf braced, muscles burning. I turned, teeth gripping her by the arm, gently but firm, and dragged her toward the bank, step by agonizing step, until my paws met solid earth. I pulled her to safety, but then I stopped. She lay there, unmoving, unbreathing. My body shook, not from cold, but from something worse. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to save her. She needed touch. But touch meant everything I wasn't ready for. I circled her, nose twitching, sniffing for life, but I didn't dare get close. My paw reached toward her, then retreated. Damn it. I shifted. Bones cracked, fur retreated, and then I was kneeling, naked, human, trembling in the dirt beside her. I looked down at her body. Her skin was pale, lips blue, chest still. She was so still. "Nothing will happen," I whispered, voice rough like gravel. "We're doing it to save her." My hands hovered over her chest. They'd never touched a woman before. Not like this. Not even close. My palms trembled as I laid them on her sternum and started pumping. Press. Release. Press. Release. I counted, breath catching each time she didn't move. I cursed under my breath. Come on, come on. She gave me nothing. I hesitated, staring down at her lips. This wasn't about want. It wasn't about need. It was life or death. I bent down, and kissed her. Not out of love, out of desperation. My lips touched hers, soft, cold, so foreign, and I blew air into her lungs, pulled back, did it again. My heart thudded. My hands clenched the ground beside her. Then she gasped. Her whole body jerked, water spewing from her lips as she coughed, choking and sputtering. She rolled weakly onto her side, still dazed but alive. She was alive. I stumbled back, hands raised, staring at them like they didn't belong to me. My lips, they'd touched her. I had touched a woman. Not in violence, not in command, but in need, in care. And it shook me, to my core. My hands, still wet, still shaking, hovered in the air uselessly. I stared at them. Not her. Not the way her chest rose and fell again. Not the way her eyes searched mine, wild and wide. Just my hands. They burned, not from the cold. From her. From the contact, the closeness, the unbearable heat of skin against skin. I touched her. I held her. And now I couldn't recognize my own damn fingers. She sat upright with a gasp and said softly, breathless, "I was so scared. I thought you were going to let me die." Her voice cut through me like broken glass. But I didn't speak. My mind was still lost in that moment. Her body limp, her heartbeat silent, her lips pale, and for a heartbeat, I thought I'd been too late. Now, she was alive, but I wasn't sure I was. "You're doing it again," she said, voice sharper this time. "Just like in your quarters, staring at your hands like they're not yours." I still said nothing, because maybe they weren't. Maybe I was something else now, something I never wanted to become. "Don't tell me," she started, her tone shifting, slowing, cutting deeper. Then she said it. "Don't tell me you've never touched a woman before." My head snapped toward her. My eyes locked with hers. Damn it. Too fast. Too obvious. I didn't answer, but it was all over my face. She saw it. I watched the realization sink into her, like slow poison. "Oh," she breathed, her gaze narrowing, just a fraction. "So it's true." Her words curled around my chest like a fist. She didn't laugh. She didn't mock. She didn't pull away. She just looked at me. I hated that. Because she didn't look scared. She looked like she understood. Then she asked, quieter this time, "Is it true or not?" I clenched my jaw. The shame, if that's what it was, felt like it scraped the inside of my ribs raw. But I gave her the truth. The only truth I had left. "I've never." 2 words, heavy as hell. She blinked. I expected a scoff, maybe a smirk. Pity, disbelief. But all she did was exhale slowly and say, "Well, who am I not to believe you? You must have your reason." I did. Too many. None of them she'd ever understand. Then she glanced toward the water and let out a small, dry laugh. "Well, as for me, as a grown-ass woman, I cannot swim." She sounded embarrassed, almost like she was trying to fill the space between us with something lighter, something easier. But nothing between us would ever be easy. Not after this. I didn't respond. But this time, when I looked at her, I didn't look away. I just watched her. Soaked, shivering, alive. And for some reason, the sight of her breathing was the only thing anchoring me to this moment. To reality. To the wolf inside me, still pacing just beneath the surface, snarling with confusion over why I'd touched her, and why I hadn't let her drown. I turned away from her and started walking, my bare feet squelching against the wet soil. The wind brushed cold against my skin, but inside, I felt nothing but heat. The heat of confusion, discomfort, the raw edges of something unfamiliar gnawing at my nerves. Behind me, I heard her shift. Then thud. I spun around instantly, instinct surging before thought. She was down again, collapsed onto the forest floor, like the current had just spat her out all over again. Her face twisted slightly, trying to stay composed, but I saw it. The tremble in her arms, the twitch in her legs. She was shaking, even as she tried to hide it. "Thief, I can't make it out of here," she muttered, her voice strained. "My legs are still in shock from that hard current." My wolf stirred, his voice coming low and firm inside my head. "We can't leave her here." He was right, but every nerve in me tensed at the thought of carrying her again. Being close, being touched. I swallowed the panic down. "Stay right here," I said, my voice hard, masking the storm inside. "I'll get Dylan to come for you." She nodded slowly, then added quietly, "Call me Zara instead." I paused, noted it, a name offered in vulnerability. I gave a short nod in return before shifting back into my wolf, fur bristling with tension, and bolted into the trees. But I didn't make it far. 3 strides in, something clawed at me from within, stronger than instinct, deeper than duty, leaving her behind. Unwell, alone. I turned. The wind rushed against my face as I sprinted back, faster than before, until I reached the small clearing. There she was, curled into herself, her knees hugged tight to her chest, her face buried deep, as if trying to disappear into her own arms. I froze. That position, that silence, it was me, not her. Me. I'd sat like that, too many nights to count, hiding from voices, from pain, holding in things I never dared to speak aloud. "Why do I see you in her?" my wolf asked softly. I didn't answer him. Instead, I shifted, back into my human form. "Hop on," I said gruffly, stepping forward. My voice came tighter than I meant. "You'll ride with me." She lifted her head slowly, swiping her hands across her face, red-rimmed eyes, tear tracks. But she didn't say a word about them, just nodded and pushed herself up like she was used to standing alone, even when she was breaking. I turned away again, shifted into my wolf, and crouched low to the ground. Then she climbed on. Her weight, her touch, her arms wrapped around my fur as she leaned forward to balance. My entire body locked up in stiff resistance. My back twitched under her legs, every cell screaming. It was the first time, ever. A woman was touching me, holding me. And not just any woman, a rogue. Everything about it felt unnatural, too close, too much, like walking into fire while pretending not to burn. I wanted to shake her off, but I didn't. I couldn't. Because she needed help. And she was under my care. So I did what I'd never done before. What I swore I never would. After what felt like forever, the edge of the woods finally broke, and I emerged into the clearing, her weight still on my back. I moved with precision, refusing to stagger, not because it didn't burn, but because I wouldn't let them see it. The pack house stood tall ahead, silent at first, until the first few ones noticed me. The chatter died instantly. Heads turned, eyes widened, conversations halted mid-sentence. The sight of me, Ronan, the Untouchable Alpha, carrying a woman on my back like some kind of damn fairy tale rescue. Yeah, shocking? They didn't move, not until I growled low. "Help her to her room," I barked, lowering myself slowly. Her arms slid from around my neck, and I could feel the tension in her, as much as in me. She slipped off my back and landed on her feet unsteadily before someone rushed forward to catch her. I didn't wait to see who. My body was on fire, my thoughts louder than the noise outside. I sprinted around the house, taking the back entrance straight into my quarters before I could explode in front of them. But I wasn't alone for long. The door opened behind me and the unmistakable scent of Dylan drifted in. I didn't need to look. "You carried her?" His voice was low, laced with disbelief. I stood frozen, still naked, the scratch of bark still on my skin, wet streaks down my back, and mud caked over my calves. I didn't turn to him. I couldn't. "She was hurt," I said flatly. "I couldn't leave her there." Dylan stepped forward. "This is shocking, Alpha. You actually let her ride on your back." I clenched my jaw and turned halfway, just enough for him to see the dark circles under my eyes. "You should have done the same." "I would. Definitely. I would," Dylan said, without hesitation. "But your situation is different." Before he could say more, before he could push the knife in deeper, I shut him up. "I feel like throwing up now, Dylan." My voice cracked slightly. I hated that. "Can you just give me a moment alone?" There was a pause. Then his respectful nod echoed in his tone. "Of course, Alpha." The door clicked shut behind him, and the silence finally swallowed me whole. I walked to the shower like a man who didn't belong in his own skin. My palms still tingled from where I'd touched her. My lips, damn it, still remembered the softness of hers, even if it was just to save her life. I turned the water on and stepped under the spray, letting it hit me like punishment. Warm, searing, unrelenting, but not nearly enough to wash her off me, or the way she made me feel. Like I was becoming someone I didn't recognize, someone dangerous, someone human.
Bella's point of view.
Zara had helped me back to our shared room and into one of her loose cotton dresses, the soft fabric brushing against my freshly cleaned skin like a whisper. My legs still trembled from the cold and shock, but the heat of the room grounded me as she helped me onto the bed. Huxley scooted over to make space, while Kian remained standing, arms folded across his chest like a disapproving parent. Zara perched beside me, worry etched in the tight line of her lips. Huxley gave me a weak smile, more relief than joy. And Kian? His eyes were slicing through me like a knife hunting the truth. "Well?" Kian's voice broke it. "You going to tell us where you disappeared to? And why you look like a drowned deer?" I pulled the blanket over my legs, leaned back on the pillows, and drew in a slow breath. I exhaled slowly. "I went for a run," I started, my voice softer than I intended. "I shifted and took a long loop around the woods, and I tripped. I didn't see the river until it swallowed me. The current was fast. I swallowed. I almost didn't make it. Ronan found me. He helped me back." Kian's brow twitched, a scowl deepening across his face. "Why do I feel like all your stories are fake, like they're patched together with chewing gum and lies?" I sat up a little, resting my weight on my elbows. "Because, Kian," I said, voice cool as ice, "you're too busy doubting everything to recognize when someone's actually being honest." That shut him up. His lips parted like he had something else to say, but no sound came out. Good. Maybe he needed a lesson in shutting the hell up. Huxley let out a breath, raising his brows. "Okay, now mind telling us the real truth?" he asked. "Is he the real Ronan, the one the world talks about?" I glanced at Zara, then at the boys, before finally nodding. "It's true," I said softly. "He's the one." Zara's eyes widened. "If he's the Ronan, then what is he doing here? It said he's packless, that he doesn't shift, That he's broken, not fit to lead. You said the same things. I did, I admitted. That's what I believed. But everything people say about him, it's false. I leaned forward, eyes serious. That place beyond the borders, where I met him the first time, it's his father's old pack house, and from what I've seen, that's where he's been staying. For the entire winter we've lived here without seeing him. He's been there, and when winter ends, he returns here. Kian frowned. But what would be the reason for that? I shrugged. I don't know either, but what I do know is he's not what people say he is, not even close. Their silence settled heavy over the room. Then a soft knock tapped against the door, just as Zara tucked the blanket tighter around my legs. Before anyone could answer, Dylan stepped inside, eyes scanning the room like he owned the silence. "Mind if I have a word with your friend?" he asked, voice low but layered with authority. Zara exchanged a look with Huxley, who then glanced at Kian. No one said a word. They just nodded and filed out without protest. Dylan waited until the door clicked shut behind them before walking toward the bed. He didn't sit right away. He stood over me like he was trying to read something in my eyes that I didn't even know was there. "What I saw back there was shocking," he said finally, voice quiet, thoughtful. "Not just to me, but to the entire pack. So I want you to help me help him." I blinked. "What exactly are you trying to say?" Dylan sighed, raking his hand through his hair before sinking into the edge of the bed beside me. His tone shifted, less beta, more brother. "Bella, our Alpha has a problem, a very big one that no one's ever had the chance or the courage to help him with." My brows rose instinctively. The way he said problem, it wasn't casual, it was centuries deep. Dylan leaned forward, elbows on his knees, his voice dropping low as if the walls might betray us. "It started in his childhood, back when the old Alpha, his father, was still alive. What Ronan saw, what he endured, would have shattered most people." He paused, dragging a breath in. Every night, he watched his father abuse his mother. And I don't mean a slap or a cruel word here and there. I mean real, brutal, unthinkable things. Things a child shouldn't even have the vocabulary for, let alone witness. My throat closed, the air in the room suddenly too thick. He watched that man, his own father, break her, over and over, with his fists, his words, his body, in front of him, for years. Dylan's jaw tightened. He was just a boy, Bella, helpless, and every scream, every sob got carved into him like a brand. My chest ached. From the moment his mother died, he swore he'd never touch a woman. Dylan continued. He thought, if he did, maybe he'd turn into that monster too, that it was in his blood, that somehow touching a woman would make him lose control the same way. A harsh breath left my lungs. "That's why the armor," Dylan added. "He wears it not for protection from enemies, but to protect himself, to keep himself distant, to stop himself from accidentally brushing against a woman, from letting himself feel." The room felt like it was tilting. My thoughts reeled, back to that strange stiffness in his touch, the way he stared at his hands like they didn't belong to him, like they were tainted. "I didn't even think he'd carry you back," Dylan said, voice softer now, almost reverent. "But when I saw you on his back, clinging to him, Bella, he let you. That's never happened, not even once." I turned to him slowly, heart pounding in my chest. "So, why are you telling me all this?" "Because I think you might be the one to help him," Dylan said, eyes locking with mine. "I think something in you cracks something in him. And if there's even the smallest chance that you can help him see he's not his father, then damn it, I'm not going to let that slip through our fingers." I sat there, still, stunned, the weight of the truth pressing down on my chest, and beneath it, something else. A whisper of responsibility, or maybe fate. I pulled the blanket tighter across my lap, meeting his eyes, steady but cold. "Well, I'm sorry to tell you this, Dylan. but I won't do it." He blinked. "I know you mean well," I continued, "but if no one has ever helped him before, you, his beta, his closest man, then what makes you think I can? I'm not a healer, I'm not his childhood savior, I'm just a rogue." My voice caught, but I pressed on. "I've got my own demons." My hands clenched in the fabric. Dark ones I don't even know if I'll ever beat. So, no, I can't help him. I won't even try. I'm sorry. Silence stretched between us, long and heavy. Dylan's shoulders sagged. He looked at me like he wanted to say something more, but the words didn't come. After a moment, he stood and brushed his hands down his pants, as if wiping off something invisible. "Please," he said quietly, "just think about it." I looked away. "Unless he calls for me himself, then I won't move a finger. If he doesn't, then I'm out. That's the deal." Dylan nodded slowly. "Understood." Without another word, he turned and walked to the door, his steps heavy, like he was carrying Ronan's ghosts out with him. When the door clicked shut, I let out a shaky breath and slumped deeper into the bed. My heart was pounding. Not because I didn't want to help Ronan, but because deep down, I was terrified that if I did, I'd lose the war I was already barely winning with myself. Silence flooded the room like a wave crashing into me. I leaned back against the pillows, staring up at the ceiling, but not really seeing anything. What did I just say? I couldn't help him. I repeated the words in my mind, over and over, trying to convince myself they were true. And maybe they were. Maybe I wasn't the one who could pull Ronan out of whatever shadows he was lost in. I had my own mess to crawl through, my own past, my own nightmares. Helping someone like him, someone with demons loud enough to shake the whole world. It felt impossible. But then, I remembered the way he looked at his hands, the way he stared at them after touching me, like he had just committed a crime, or broken a curse. And that image refused to leave. I rubbed my palms together slowly, quietly. My skin still remembered the warmth of his, even if he hadn't touched me willingly. There was something fragile about him beneath all that iron, something human, and it terrified me. Because I saw myself in that. I pulled the blanket higher. Zara had come and gone, Kian and Huxley too. The room was quiet again. The only sound was my breathing and the faint thump of my heart trying to settle itself. I didn't want to care, not really, not about him. But I'd seen a part of Ronan no one else had, not even his beta. I saw him hesitate. I saw him afraid. And it wasn't fear of the river or death. It was fear of touching someone, of hurting them. My lips parted slightly, still remembering the breath he gave me when I was drowning. The lips he hadn't kissed, but had brought to mine anyway. To save me. That wasn't a monster. That was a man who was scared of becoming one. I turned over, facing the wall. If he calls for me, I whispered to myself, then I'll go. But until then, I had to protect my own heart. Because falling for a man like Ronan could be the most dangerous thing I'd ever do. I must have drifted off somewhere between memory and thought, because the knock on the door startled me hard enough to jolt my chest. I sat up slowly, thinking it was Zara, or maybe Dylan, come back for another attempt. But it wasn't. It was a scent that hit me first. That strange mix of steel, pine wood, and something colder, older, like winter had buried itself in a man's soul. My breath caught in my throat. I turned toward the door just as it creaked open, and there he stood. Ronan, in the doorway. No armor. Just him. Shirt slightly open at the collar, strands of damp hair still clinging to his forehead like he'd barely dried off. His eyes were unreadable. Not empty, not angry, just tired. Like he'd fought something on the way here, and maybe still was. He didn't step in, didn't say a word. But those eyes locked on mine like they were demanding answers he hadn't even asked for. and just as I opened my mouth to speak, he did. Bella. He said my name like it was a confession. And then he added, quietly, low and unsure, but real enough to freeze me in place. I need your help.
Ronan's point of view.
I stood in the middle of my quarters, towel hanging loosely around my neck, water dripping down my spine. I hadn't moved since the shower, since I scrubbed every trace of her scent off my skin, though, truthfully, it was still there. Somewhere beneath the surface, under the armor I wasn't wearing tonight. I could still feel her weight on my back, her heartbeat pulsing against my spine, her breath near my ear. I had carried her, a woman, not out of duty, but instinct. And even now, the part of me that should have felt regret didn't. I heard a knock, then Dylan's voice. I'm coming in. He didn't wait for my permission, as usual. He stepped inside, eyes scanning me like he was waiting to see if I'd implode. You okay? He asked. I didn't answer. He stepped closer. She's in her room, alive, thanks to you. I looked away. Dylan sighed. You do realize what just happened today is bigger than you realize. You touched her. You let her touch you. Ronan, this was the first time in your entire life you let someone get close, and you didn't fall apart. I clenched my jaw. I am falling apart. No, you're not, he shot back. You're terrified, but you didn't hurt her. You didn't freeze. You saved her. She was dying. I had no choice. You did, he countered, and you chose to save her. That means something. I didn't say anything. I couldn't, because my head was screaming and my wolf was silent, listening, waiting. I asked her to help you, Dylan said after a long pause. Told her the truth, about your father, about your fear. I froze. My heart didn't race. It just stopped. You told her? I asked, voice low, barely human. Dylan didn't flinch. She deserved to know. Who's she to know about my life, Dylan? The silence that followed felt like thunder. My fingers twitched at my sides. I didn't raise my voice, didn't lunge. But the air thickened, and I could feel my wolf push against my skin, hard and sudden. That part of me wasn't yours to give, I said, each word like gravel in my throat. Dylan looked away for a second, then back at me. No, it wasn't. But someone had to, Ronan. You've built this fortress so high, no one can even knock. I turned my back to him, jaw clenched so tight it tasted blood. My father's shadow still lived in me. I'd spent my entire life making sure no one ever looked too close. And now, she knew. But she said no, Dylan added. I stiffened. She said unless you asked her yourself, she wouldn't do it. Dylan's eyes narrowed. So I'm telling you now, if you walk out of this room, go to her and ask her for help. Maybe, just maybe, it's the start of a different ending for you. I turned away, hands clenched into fists. I'm not asking you to fall in love, Ronan, Dylan added quietly. I'm asking you to stop running. And then he left. I stood there in the silence, listening to my breath. The storm inside me refused to settle. She saw us, my wolf murmured in my head. What? She saw us, he repeated, the way we are, and she didn't run. Something pulled at me. Maybe it wasn't Dylan's words. Maybe it wasn't logic. Maybe it was the look on her face when she thought I would let her die, or the way she curled up like a child once I told her I'd get help. Or maybe I was tired of pretending I wasn't drowning too. So I got dressed. No armor, no shields. Just me. And I walked to her door, each step heavy with ghosts. I didn't knock at first. I stood there like a coward for nearly 20 minutes. Then finally I lifted my hand and knocked. The door opened, and there she was, laying in bed, skin still pale from what happened, but her eyes looked at me like they could already tell I was unraveling. I almost turned back, but then I said it. "Bella." I waited, my chest tight. "I need your help." Her hand reached up slowly, rubbing her eyes like she wasn't sure whether she was awake or still dreaming. Then her voice came, soft, groggy, but unmistakably hers. "Are you really here? Like, are you really here, or are you just an imagination stuck in my dreams?" I didn't move. I didn't speak right away. I didn't trust my voice not to crack under the pressure of just being here. But I found it, somehow. "I'm real," I said. Her body shifted. She sat upright, turned toward me, eyes wide open now, awake, focused. "Did your beta convince you to come to me because I told him?" She paused. "Or did you just come by yourself?" I looked at her for a very good long moment. "The truth?" I said. She nodded. "Dylan told me what you said," I admitted. "But I came because I want your help, if you're still willing." Silence dropped between us like a thick blanket. I waited. I didn't know if she'd laugh in my face or kick me out, or worse, say yes out of pity. But she finally nodded. "Fine. Since you gave me and my friends a roof over our heads and saved me from that river, I'll help you." She paused, but on one condition. My body locked. "Condition? Accept my friends as members of your pack." I blinked. I hadn't expected it. My chest tightened, not because I was unwilling, but because of what came next. "You just mentioned your friends," I said quietly. "What about you?" She got up. I instinctively took a step back. My throat dried. The space between us felt too close. She noticed. Of course she did. "How do you expect me to help you?" she said, voice calm but edged, "when you can't even bear my closeness?" I had no answer, only a clenched jaw and the echo of my heartbeat pounding like war drums in my ears. "Anyway," she added, folding her arms, "how exactly do you expect me to help you?" I glanced around. Reflex, habit. My mind scanned every corner, every shadow. "Not here," I said. "You'll come to my quarters." Her eyebrow lifted. "Fine. That means you've agreed to my condition." "I did," I said, before I could overthink it. She smiled. Then extended her hand toward me. "Then let's seal the deal." I stared at her hand like it was a live wire. "This is the beginning of helping you," she said. "Come on, shake it. Well, it's clean, just in case." I took it, only for a second. A tight grip. Then I dropped it like it burned. It might as well have. Without a word, I turned and walked out. The heat of her touch still pulsing through my skin, like it didn't want to leave me alone. And maybe that was the whole point. I walked out of her room like I was walking away from a fire I had no business being close to. Her scent lingered on my skin. Her touch haunted my hand. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I had rules, boundaries, armor, literal and otherwise. I wasn't supposed to lower my guard, not for anyone. Especially not for someone like her. Someone who saw through the cracks I thought I'd sealed shut. I made it to my quarters in record time, slammed the door behind me, and leaned back against it. My wolf stirred inside me, not in conflict, but in something worse. Hope. "You touched her." He whispered it like an accusation. And you didn't break. I ran a hand through my hair and let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. It was just a handshake, I told myself. You've shaken hands before. But not like that. Not with a woman. Not with someone who looked me in the eye and didn't see the monster I've been hiding my whole life. She looked and saw me. And worse, she didn't flinch. I paced, back and forth. Each step like a battle between logic and instinct. She agreed to help me. That was the plan. That's why I went to her room. I made the deal. I held up my end. So why the hell did it feel like the real danger had just begun? I sat down at the edge of my bed, elbows on my knees, palms pressed against my face. Dylan's words came back like a ghost. She might be the one to help you. No, she wasn't just might. She already was. She saw me without flinching. She touched me and didn't recoil. She didn't beg to leave after learning the truth. And worse, she smiled. The kind of smile that made the air in the room feel warmer. The kind that said, I see your demons, and I still choose to stand here. Or because she still wanted a roof. And that scared me more than anything. But if she can really help me, then she could also break me. And that was a risk I wasn't ready to take. But it was already too late. The night dragged its feet like it was punishing me. Sleep? I forgot what that even meant. I tossed, turned, shifted positions 100 times, on my back, then my side, then my stomach, only to flip over again and stare at the dark ceiling like it held the answers to the storm inside me. My bed felt too small. The room felt too quiet. My skin felt like it didn't belong to me anymore, except for the damn scars on my back, the only part of me that never forgot its job, always itching, always reminding, like a ghost that refused to fade. I laid flat at last, arms folded behind my head, eyes wide open, staring at the stillness above. A long breath escaped my lungs, and with it, the thought I'd been trying not to admit all night. Why the hell does a grown man like me feel like a little boy who can't wait to unwrap Christmas gifts? A scoff followed. Pathetic. But I couldn't lie. Not to myself. Not anymore. That feeling inside me wasn't just nerves. It wasn't fear. It wasn't even just curiosity. It was want. No, not like that. It was something deeper. Something I didn't even have a word for. Was it because I wanted help? Because she was willing to give it? Or was it because, for the first time in my entire life, I felt something close to alive? Safe, even. And that terrified me more than anything else. It started the day she walked into my father's old pack house. Bold, reckless, loud-mouthed, and unafraid. She didn't tiptoe. She didn't try to play nice. She walked in like she belonged in a place built to break people. And it didn't break her. She didn't just survive. She carved space for herself, like she owned it. And now she was here, in my world, staring into my wreckage like it was just another puzzle she could figure out. I turned to my side again, gritting my teeth. She said she'd help. I agreed to her condition. The deal was made. So why did the thought of seeing her again make my pulse race like I was facing down a war I wasn't ready for? The minutes passed, then hours. Outside, the stars began to dim, giving way to the slow stretch of dawn. That cold, pale light, bleeding through my window, told me what the clock didn't need to. Morning had come, and I hadn't slept a second. I sat up, ran a hand down my face, and stared out the window. Today, it begins. Whatever it is. Whatever she was going to do. Whatever I was going to become. But I'd be damned if I backed out now. Then came the knock. Soft, firm, measured. "Ronan, it's Bella." Her voice cut through the door. Too calm, too early. "I figured we might start early, if that's all right." I blinked at the sound. She actually came. And this early, I pushed myself up, my heart doing that thing I hated, beating too fast like it forgot who the hell it belonged to. I swung my legs over the bed and stepped toward the door, hand halfway to the knob. Still too soft. Always too damn soft, boy. My entire body went still. No, not now. My head turned, slow, too slow, as if my body already knew what my mind refused to face. My gaze locked on the mirror by the door, because of course it would be the mirror. That cursed piece of glass had always shown more than just reflections. And there he was, leaning against the edge like he owned the room, arms folded, that smug, rotting smile etched into his face like a scar that never healed. My father. Dead, burned, buried. And still here. Still alive in the marrow of my bones, in the quiet between heartbeats, in the dark corners I never dared touch. But he wasn't alone. He had her. My mother. Small, wilted in his grip. Eyes dim, turned away. A ghost clinging to the arms of a monster. And in his other hand, the belt. That silver serpent, wrapped tight in his fist like something he loved, like it was a part of him, an extension of his rage, a family heirloom forged in bruises and screams. He jerked her closer. "So what's it gonna be, boy?" he drawled. "You want to take this for her, too? Or maybe..." His eyes flicked toward the door, toward her. "You think that little packless wolf is gonna fix you? You think this changes a damn thing?" He grinned. "Rotten. Inevitable. You're still me, son. Just waiting to snap."
I see you standing in the dark, with all your walls, your quiet scars. You never let the silence break, but I stayed close for love's own sake. Even if your heart won't open, even if you push me far away, I'll be here through every moment, loving you, though you won't say. I don't need a vow or promise, I just need the chance to stay. You don't have to reach for me,